Hello and welcome back to Key Comic Universe. Today I'm back here with a new video of my top 25 favorite comics in my collection. Before I get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would be pretty awesome. And check me out on Instagram at Key Comic Universe. Also, let me know what some of your favorite comics are in the comments down below. Like, which books do you like the most? Okay, here we go. Coming at number 25, I have Adventures into Weird Worlds, issue number 25. The double 25. Now, this book is pretty cool. What's the best way to describe this? I honestly just really like the cover artwork. I like the stories inside. And it's just a good read. Honestly, this book I've just enjoyed a lot. Initially, I bought this book just based upon the cover artwork, but after reading it, I just really like the storyline. And just a really cool book, really fun, and yes, that is number 25. Coming in at number 24, this is a book that I pick up anytime I see it. For the most part, as long as the price is right. And that is The Hood, number 1. Personally, I'm going to eventually get a CGC copy of this book, hopefully. But for right now, raws are fine. The Hood, honestly, just has a pretty interesting story, giving a villain their own comic series, which was pretty cool, and is also the first appearance of this character, the Hood. Later on, he'll become an enemy of characters such as Spiderman, Daredevil, and so forth, as well as being involved in a lot of different storylines. His first appearance, just a book that I've always really enjoyed, and I've always found this series just really fun to read. One of my favorite Max series. Also up there would be series like Punisher, which I really enjoyed, but definitely a book that I just really enjoy, and a good read in my own personal opinion. Also, I love the artwork of this book. I just always thought it was really eye-catching, and yeah, that's number 24. Coming in at number 23, this book isn't really super valuable or anything, but it is one of my favorite Wolverine stories, and, well, probably my favorite Wolverine story, actually, and that is Wolverine issue number 20, The Beginning of Enemy of the State. This features Wolverine going up against a new villain known as Gorgon, and it does feature a bit of mind control, which usually I'm not the biggest fan of, because usually it's like, I've seen this before, it's nothing really new or unique, but in this story they actually make it work, and I found that really enjoyable. Also, artwork by John Romita Jr., which his artwork is always pretty good in my opinion, and this is just a really good book. And there is some spec value there since Gorgon eventually joins the Dark Avengers. So yeah, definitely a really cool book. Just one of my favorite storylines. I have the trade paperbacks. I have all the comics. Just really enjoy it. Okay, next book up. This book is super undervalued, and it really hasn't gotten the attention it deserves. And that is The Flash Iron Heights issue number 1, which it's a one-shot, but the book is just a really good storyline. The story's awesome. It introduces some really cool characters. One of which, I can't remember their name, Double Dragon or something, who shows up briefly in the Suicide Squad movie. This book also features the first appearance of Murmur, who is a pretty interesting villain of The Flash. Honestly, this book is kind of hard for me to really track down, because book's print run isn't the biggest or anything, and it's also, some people consider a trade paperback, but super cool book. Flash Iron Heights, just a really fun story. Flash goes up against a ton of different villains in this book, and once again introduces Murmur, who's a really cool Flash villain who really hasn't gotten a lot of attention, and who is an interesting character to read about. So yeah, that is number 22. Okay, next book. Another book that I just really enjoy the storyline of, and introduces a bunch of characters who are really fun to read, and that is XForce issue number 116. This begins Peter Milligan's and Allred's story about a team of celebrity mutants. Now, this book has been talked about the series has been talked about quite a bit on YouTube in the past, But in my opinion, this series is still super underrated. The artwork is awesome, featuring some really just like pop art, is the best way I can describe it. And introduces a lot of really cool characters, including Zeitgeist, who unfortunately doesn't stick around too long, but also Anarchist, You Go Girl. And the series would go on to introduce a bunch of other characters and eventually transfer over to their own series called Ecstatics. Just a really awesome series. Just really, really enjoy this book. It's more aimed at an older audience, but, just a really good read. I don't really know what else to say. I just really love this series. Okay, next book. That will be, here we go, the first slab of the video, and that is The Killing Joke 6 print newsstand edition. The reason I have this book on the list isn't because it's like my favorite story or anything like that. It is a really good story. Probably one of my favorite Batman stories. But the reason this book makes it on the list is just because this book was a really hard struggle to track down. I spent a lot of time trying to find this book. So for that reason, I have to kind of put this on the list because I really spent a lot of time out there looking around, trying to find it. So just for that reason alone, I'm throwing this book on this list. And if you can track down newsstand, definitely do it. This book is super cool, and it's pretty hard to find. Really scarce on the market. Okay, next book. Another book where I just really like the cover art. The stories really aren't like top tier story-wise, but the art in this book and the cover is just amazing. And that is Suspense, issue number 26. This book, I'm surprised, isn't really worth a ton of money. It features probably one of the best zombie covers from the pre-code era. There's a few that beat it out. One in particular, which is a Chamber of Chill. I think it's issue 20. But what really makes this book stand out is just a really cool zombie artwork on the cover and a woman in the back screaming. Just really, really amazing artwork. And the stories aren't like my favorite by any means, but they're readable, they're enjoyable. So yeah, definitely check out this book. If you haven't checked this book out before, look it up. This book's really cool, and it also features work by Stan Lee. So Stan the man made his way on to some horror books. Okay, next book up, that will be another slab. I'm going to pull it out real fast, and that is the Sandman issue number 1, or just Sandman number 1. This features the first appearance of Morpheus and begins his story arc. Now, Sandman is one of the best series ever written, done by Neil Gaiman, and just a really awesome book series. If you ever read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm assuming most people have read or heard of the series before. It's just really, really good. Even if you're not into DC, this book really sets itself apart, and the storyline, I think, is almost universally enjoyable. So check out this book. Honestly, just really good, and I'm happy to own a copy of this. Definitely changed my perspective on comics when I first read it, because at the time I was reading mostly Marvel and mostly just superhero titles, and after reading that, I was like, wow, you can really do a lot with comics, not just like one format. Okay, next book up, Chamber of Chills, issue number 13. The book makes it onto the list because, well, this is my first pre-code horror book I ever owned. The first one I ever ordered, ever bought. So yeah, also features some really cool artwork on the inside. A lot of decapitations in this book, but just an awesome book. Give it a read. Some of the stories in here are pretty good. Okay, next book. The book, I think, is still undervalued and underrated, mainly because the character who first appears in this book still to this day doesn't really get a lot of love. And that is ManThing issue number 3. ManThing gets a ton of love, but the character who appears in this, Fool Killer, still isn't really that well known or really super popular. He's had some actually pretty good storylines, especially one of his solo series, which features kind of more comedic undertones. But the character to this day still isn't super popular. But I would at least give some of his solo series a read. They're pretty interesting, pretty fun in my opinion, at least a few of them. But yeah, character that's still pretty unknown and who can definitely have a big future in comics. That's ManThing issue number 3. Okay, Next up, Adventures into Fear issue number 20. This features the first solo appearance of Morbius. Now, I'm not the biggest Morbius fan ever. I do enjoy a lot of his stories, but the reason this book really drew my attention, why I actually just have this book on the list, is that this was my first Pedigree book. So, I really have never owned a Pedigree book before this, and this was the first one that I owned, and yeah, it's actually just really cool to have history, buy a book with history with it, and yeah, just really awesome. Love this book, and it's super high grade, as you'll see with most Pedigree books. This one has absolutely white pages. To this day, I have made sure that this book still has, as far as I'm aware, has not seen sunlight. There's a really cool story behind this Pedigree collection, so I might have to make a video on that in the future. So yeah, let me know if you guys would be interested in making a video on pedigrees. Okay, next up, this is the book that kind of started it all, in a way, and that is Moon Knight issue number 4. This is my first Moon Knight book that I ever bought. This was what got me into the series, what got me into comics even further. I just really enjoyed this storyline a lot. It features Moon Knight going against a committee, or just a bunch of people with different skills, sorta. And yeah, just kind of a really action-packed comic, and in my opinion, pretty good Moon Knight story. And let's see, what's up next? Next book on the list is Amazing Spider-Man number 78. This book I've wanted since I was a kid. I remember seeing this book, loving the Prowler costume, thinking it was just awesome. And then, as an adult, I was finally able to get my first copy, which was a low-grade beater. Then I upgraded to this copy, which is a mid-grade. And I'm going to eventually try to upgrade this copy, sell this copy, and then upgrade to a high grade, just because I want to keep on improving my collection. But as it is right now, this is a copy that I own that's in the best condition. And you know what? Love it. Prowler is an awesome character. Okay, next book up. This is a book that is also iconic, classic. Most people go crazy over this book. The book just keeps on, I would say, increasing in value. I remember when this book was only $30-$40, and that is Green Lantern issue number 85. This features a iconic, controversial, classic drug story where Speedy gets addicted to heroin. Just an amazing cover. This book will just always be a classic. Just love this book. I still need to get a copy of 86, but this was the one that I really want to search for, and it's just awesome. If you see this book, you'll pretty much anyone will instantly recognize this book. I even know people who aren't into comics who recognize this book are like, oh, I remember seeing that. So that just kind of goes to show just how insane this book is, and you know what? It's just also a solid investment, in my opinion, as well. Alright, next book up. Let's see. Next book. Alright, another slab. Okay, so this is Chamber of Chills, issue number 7. This book is just awesome pre-code horror. It was used in SOTY, aka Seduction of the Innocent. Features an insane cover. The cover on this book is just nuts. But with so much going on, bondage, there's a guy on the cover, bunch of skeletons. Just love this book. Also, the stories in this book are just awesome stuff. And I'm happy I own a copy. I got this book for an insane price because when I bought this book, someone uploaded it to eBay and they didn't really use a very good title and just made a bunch of errors in the listing. So I was able to get this book for dirt cheap compared to what this book normally goes for. So just awesome stuff. So let's see, I have a few books left to go. We're getting into the top 10. So here we go, guys. Top 10 books in my collection. So this is The Haunt of Fear issue number 19. This features just a pretty cool cover, not the best cover, but it's actually the interior stories that makes this book just crazy. I would say that this is definitely one of the farthest out EC or pre-code horror book. I'm not the farthest out there, but pretty far out. If you haven't read this book, give it a read. This is an insane story featuring a ton of gore, violence, just everything you want to see with pre-code horror. It literally has it all. So check out Haunted Figure number 19. I just love this book. Features the most demented baseball game you'll ever see in a book. And yeah, that's number 10. Coming in at number 9, I've got Batman Adventures issue number 12. So, when the show Harley Quinn came out, that was the first piece of media that really made me think, wow, this character is really awesome. I did enjoy her in like the original Batman Adventures show, but I never really got behind the character to the point where I was like, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite DC characters. But after the Harley Quinn show, oh my gosh, that show was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it. I found this book, and yeah. This is also a really cool book because it's also a newsstand, first appearance. Eventually I want upgrade grade. This one's upper mid grade as is. The main issue is just like spine ticks, which suck, and then a couple of indents on the cover. But hey, I'm happy to have this book in the collection. And yeah, this book is just awesome stuff. Notice that this book has gone down a bit since the TV show came out, but I know that as long as season 3 is good, I think this book's going to go back up. As Harley Quinn keeps showing up in DC shows, movies, etc., this book will just retain value or even go up further. One of the few DC books that, make a pretty good bet on. Okay, next one is Silver Surfer issue number 3. Now, this is one of the books I recently picked up, so there might be a little bit of recency bias with this book, and a few others that will make it onto this list. Because I picked them up so recently, there might be a little bit of bias. But hey, I'll probably redo this video a year from now or 2 years from now and see how this has changed. So this is Silver Surfer number 3, first Mephisto. I've always just really enjoyed the character of Mephisto. I always found him to be a pretty good villain, pretty convincing. There have been a few storylines where I've just been like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, where this character has just been written pretty badly. Mainly look at Amazing Spider-Man One More Day. That story was pretty awful, but in my opinion, not the best story, but awesome character. Really enjoyed this book. Read it a couple times now. Yeah, I know, reading comics, crazy. Who reads comics these days? Don't you just buy comics to resell them? No. Always read your comics. Always enjoy them. If there's a character you like, always sit down and read them. But yeah, just love this book. Enjoy it. Just awesome. Okay, next book. This is the first book where I knew this book was a key, and I actually purposely sought it out. I had owned a few books beforehand that are now considered keys, but at the time just weren't. And this book is even bigger now than it was when I got over, oh my gosh, how many years has it been? Almost 20 years? This is not almost 20, but a very long time ago. Moon Knight number 1. This book, when I was a kid, I remember getting the Moon Knight. And I wanted to buy the whole series of Moon Knight. But this book, back then, hey, as a kid, when you're really young, like a $15 book, that seems like a lot of money when you're really young. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to afford this book? Oh my gosh, Overstreet saying this book is worth in top grade like $40-ish. So I was lucky enough to get this as a kid. I've since upgraded my copies multiple times. Always looking for a better copy. Always looking for that perfect copy. This is as close as I'm getting for right now, because the Moon Knight TV show has definitely shot this book up in price. But this one's a beautiful copy. Just super happy to own it. Moon Knight number 1. Okay, now we're getting into the top. Oh, we're not the top 5. I was going to say top 5, but there's 6 books left. Okay, number 6. City of the Living Dead. This is the last pre-code book on this list. I really enjoy pre-code horror. Just a genre that I really enjoy. And this book makes it on because this has been the hardest one for me to get so far. This book hardly ever comes up to market, and when it does, it usually goes for crazy money. Even like 5-10 years ago, this book was still expensive. There was not very many on the CGC census. This book, Raw, hardly ever comes up. There's not very many known to exist of this book to begin with, and the book represents that value. But yeah, this book, just really love it. Artwork by Saul Brodsky, one of my favorite pre-code horror artists. I know he doesn't really, like, a lot of people don't really talk about him, but he honestly just does some of the most expressive faces, and his artwork is always solid. So yeah, love this book. Couldn't get enough of it. Was lucky enough to grab a copy at a good price. Doesn't matter that it's beat. I'll eventually upgrade it if I can. Okay, now we're in the top 5. Coming in at number 5. This is The Flash, issue number 139. This book was a struggle to get. At the time when I was looking for this book, there weren't very many on the market, and the only prices on the market were just way too high. And that really hasn't changed much since I got this book. A lot of people say that this book is common, or common like low grade, and I would agree that it's easier to find this book in low grade. But is it a common book overall? Nah, it's a struggle to find this book, especially at the right price. That's probably the bigger thing, that when this book comes up, people usually want crazy money for this book. I would want crazy money if I were to sell it. But this book is just awesome. First, Reverse Flash, one of the best Flash villains in my opinion. Love Flash comics. Anything with the Flash, I enjoy. I know that DC doesn't really get a lot of love, but some of my favorite books are actually DC books, not Marvel. So, Flash issue 139. Can't get enough of this book. Super happy that I got a copy, and I had pressed, cleaned, and fixed up because, I want my books looking their best. Okay, coming at number 4, Batman number 181, First Poison Ivy. This book is also a struggle to get in good grade because you want the poster, and the poster is almost never included. And if it does have the poster, forget about it. The book's going for crazy money. Now, this copy is in the best condition. It's what I could afford. It's what I could pick up. But I have it. It's in the collection. I got this book before the Harley Quinn show came out, or right around the show was coming out, before this book went up in value a bit. So, yeah, I got super lucky with that. But, yeah, awesome book. Okay, 3 books left. Top 3. Coming at number 3, this is a super recent pickup, but that X-Men 12. Check out my other video talking about, the struggles of finding this book, especially at the right price nowadays. But first, like my most recent haul video I talked about, but it features first Juggernaut and Origin of Professor X. I don't want this video going too long, so I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quickly. Okay, number 2 on this list is The Amazing Spider-Man number 300. This book features the first Venom, full appearance, origin, features a Brock Everything last black costume issue. The book is just awesome. Honestly, just love this book. Newsstand edition. Man, awesome Todd McFarlane artwork. The book, definitely just all the way up at the top for me. Just love this book. So yeah, if you haven't, check this book out. I know that pretty much everyone knows this book. Even if you're not into comics, you know this book. So yeah. Okay, final book. Number 1. This is kind of a placeholder right now for the first appearance, but I do own the second appearance of this character. It's not the most expensive book on this list. It's not the most difficult to find on this list, but it does feature my favorite character of all time in his second appearance, and that is Werewolf by Night number 33. Moon Knight is still pretty much my favorite character, and I was just happy on his second appearance. I got this book a few years ago before it went up. I paid just under $100 for a really nice mid-grade copy. Many issues are just these scratches up here from a printer to printer creases, what you call them. But this book is just awesome. Can't get enough of this book. Love Moon Knight, favorite character from the comics to this day. And just great second appearance. I actually prefer this cover over number 32. I like this cover more, but number 32 is the first appearance, and I am still on the hunt for that book. So, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram at KeyComicUniverse. Let me know your favorite books that you own or have read. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Also, these aren't the top 25 most expensive, just top 25 favorite. I'm planning on doing a top 25 most expensive at the end of the year. Because, I kind of did that over on Instagram already. Like, at the beginning or end of last year, beginning of this year. So, I want to be able to do this on YouTube now. So, see that video? Founding at the end of the year. Alright, peace guys. Thank you for watching.